You might have heard that China is flying evil balloons and everyone needs to be afraid of this for some reason. So I just want to talk about that. I feel like you all probably know the context of it. Like there was like a balloon of Chinese origin and of undetermined purpose, because the only source saying that it was a spy balloon is obviously the US government, and the Chinese are saying it was a weather balloon. So I think believing what the US government says about it, like taking them at their word, would just show that you are like a pro-imperialist rube who is willing to just believe in whatever they say. But it very well might be a spy balloon. And I don't care, and you shouldn't care either. I really don't understand how this is supposed to be considered a bad thing. For one, China can already spy all over the world from satellites. Ooh, scary, scary, woo-hoo. The US does that too. The EU does that too. Russia does that too. Every fucking country does that. China doing the same thing with a balloon for some reason is not something to get your panties in a mifflin about. It's not something to worry about. It's not something to be scared of. The fact that it's being played up by the US government and the US media is some sort of massive issue. You know, it's a part of a campaign. It's a patently ridiculous campaign to get people scared about China. It's like China has like fucking 1920s technology and they're using it to spy on you. I cannot imagine something less threatening, less scary, less to worry about than that. But look, if you want us to just show you how little the actual US government and how little the Americans who, if there are actually any, who genuinely are afraid of the balloon, actually care about this. The US government and media are really trying to play it up as like a massive, huge diplomatic incident or something. You know, they cancel a scheduled visit to China over it. But I mean, the US doesn't just fly balloons over other countries. The US flies bombers and drones over other countries. The US drops on average about 48 bombs every single day on other countries. And in comparison, flying a balloon like doesn't even fucking register on the level of crimes and bad shit that a country can do by flying over another country with a thing. What this is, it's basically like the US presents things that it does more pervasively, more often, and in far more high-tech and more damaging ways than other countries do when it's done to them or their allies as incredibly fucking like unacceptable, unprecedented, terrible, and it's such a fucking joke. Obviously, the USA doesn't genuinely think that this is some sort of moral wrong or anything. They're not genuinely worried about a balloon. What they saw was an opportunity to publicize China like possibly doing some sort of espionage against the US, which is something that always happens anyway because countries do that to each other, especially great powers, and which the US does to everyone else far worse, you know. The US doesn't just fly a fucking spy balloon over your military base. The US sends a drone to bomb your fucking wedding. These things are not even in the same realm. They're not even remotely comparable, yet the US is like trying to pretend to be outraged about this. Give me a fucking break, man. They're trying to play this up as some sort of reason of why you should be scared of China. And it's a fucking joke. I literally cannot believe that anyone would legitimately buy. This is like probably the worst propaganda campaign I've ever seen. Anyone who would like legitimately frame this as some sort of meaningful slight by China against the US and any indication that we should be afraid. Like there was a fucking vote in I think the US House, and it had like 403 votes in favor and 0 against to condemn China for the balloon incident. And I absolutely cannot fucking believe that. I absolutely cannot fucking believe it. Like, they're really milking this. It's literally the definition of a nothing burger, to use that horrible phrase in the one circumstance where I think it really, really, really applies. If you want an indication of what the fucking US does in terms of spying, man, fucking New York Times, the voice of the American neoliberal establishment, like, just openly prints articles complaining about CIA agents, many of them in China, by the way, being eliminated, being caught. It's like they just openly admit to, for one, the fact that they have spies all over the world, and for two, they frame these countries taking actions against those spies as some sort of tragedy, as some sort of like something nefarious. Like, compared to China flying a fucking balloon over a military base, something that's not going to really meaningfully hurt anyone ever, really just is par for the course in terms of espionage between great powers. It's a drop in the fucking ocean. It's nothing. I genuinely can't believe that they try and frame this shit as something serious, especially the US trying to frame this shit as something serious. You have to be fucking shitting me, man. The balloon is nothing. I love the balloon. I love Xi Jinping. I have been indoctrinated by the balloon. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not indoctrinated by the balloon. And if you care about the fucking balloon at all, if you genuinely think that the US needs to take action against the evil Chinese slight against our airspace, we need to stop trading with China. We must take action against China. We need to condemn China. You are genuinely fucking insane, man. Genuinely just fucking insane. I honestly, you don't live in anything resembling reality anymore. And this is part of like a huge trend where Western media and Western governments present China doing the same shit that they do obviously on a much lesser scale, as nefarious because of who's doing it. It's, for example, like the debt trap diplomacy idea. What actually happens there is China outcompetes the West and the US, etc., for giving loans to other countries that would be taking a loan anyway, because obviously it's ideal not to get a loan, but sometimes you have to get one because you're a capitalist country and the idea is that you get a loan, you use it to build infrastructure or something, and then, you hopefully profit enough from building that infrastructure that you can just pay the loan back or something. So what happened is this used to be the pure domain of the West. It used to be the US banks, the IMF, US companies, whatever, were the only ones who could realistically Western European companies, etc., were the only ones who could realistically carry out these projects. And they were the only game in town. They had a monopoly over them, so they were able to impose pretty much whatever conditions they wanted for their loans. What happened is China came in the last 10, 20, 30 years or so. They have become an alternative in that market. They are a competitor in the market. Now, obviously, there's no such thing as a not exploitative loan. So I'm not going to be like, the Chinese loans are benevolent or something, because they're not. But the Chinese loans are better than the Western loans. The conditions are less harsh. Western loans are like an IMF loan. It's not just a loan. If you want the loan, they force you to fundamentally restructure your economy along neoliberal lines that will be incredibly difficult to reverse and that will hurt people in your country on far more than just a level of indebting them with like a loan. China doesn't do that. So, that's what is happening here. China offers these countries loans. They are outcompeting the West by offering these countries better loans that are obviously still harmful to them, but that are less harmful than the alternative. They are being outcompeted, ironically, in a free market, and they're fucking complaining about it. So when China does something that they do themselves, but China does it better, China beats them at their own game, China is framed as some sort of unthinking yellow peril mass, reminiscent of the xenophobic, racist caricatures of the early 1900s of a Chinese octopus taking over the world. It is obviously fundamentally bullshit, and it's fundamentally being done for one, racist reasons, and for two, for cynical, geopolitical, and especially economic hegemonic reasons.